your rankings always differ from the consensus. I wanted to start with your process and just what you're looking for and how you go about looking at these draft quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, and my process, I'm always trying to tinker with it, and do that. Even last year, I wasn't thrilled with my process, and I felt like that maybe led to some underwhelming year of quarterback rankings, right? But my big thing, I think, at a base level is, hey, I'm big into talent, traits, elite traits, things like that. That's the first place I jump off from, right? So that's where I go, and then as you go through, you start to watch film and go, oh, okay, hey, decision making. How is he in that department? How's his feel for the game overall? Okay. Oh, wait, he's got a great strong arm, but is there versatility in it? Does he have some other clubs in the bag, right? Does he do that? Then okay, there is versatility. Is there versatility in releases? All right, certainly some of that. And then I'm big into, within the decision making, did you take advantage of all that was there to be had, right? I know I was on teams, and we all do this, where, you grade a quarterback and you go, oh, okay, he got a 4-yard completion. That's a positive. But there's so many times, and this happened to me as later in my career, where, hey, yeah, you give it a positive grade, but hey, there was a 20-yard in cut open, and I know you got the 4-yard completion, but we had a chance for 35 down the middle here, and you let that go by the wayside. So I'm big into taking advantage of all that's there to be had, and then when there's nothing there to be had, what do you do then? And that's also another little, added incentive that I try to look at. And then, of course, you then build in, hey, what's around them, who they playing, what's the advantages they have because of who's around them and who's coaching them. And you try to do your best to kind of formulate all of that and put it together from there.
It's interesting that you said sort of right off the bat that, you're big into traits. And that's something I think that you can notice from looking at your quarterback rankings down the years. And we were sort of talking the last couple of days about almost discovering that we have a type, right? Whether it's quarterbacks, wide receivers, right, whatever it is, you suddenly start realizing that you're drawn to all the same kind of guys. For quarterbacks in particular, do you sort of look at the way the league has gone recently? There was a bunch of these sort of traits, toolsy type guys work out almost consecutively. And then, maybe the last couple of years it started to go back in the other direction. But like with that sort of ebb and flow of traits and things, does that kind of make you think about that year after year, or do you just sort of, this is the kind of guys I like, and sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they're not?
Well, I think a little bit of both there. I mean, you're spot on, Sam. I mean, you really are. But I try not to go, wait, right? Like, let's say Joe Burrow. When he was coming out, I wasn't like, oh, this is the fastest guy ever. This is the greatest arm ever, right? I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's lasers all over the field. But I just went, damn, it's just the decision-making and all of it together is perfect there. So that was a year where maybe, Justin Herbert had the strongest arm. And, I think most people would have gone, well, I'm shocked Sims didn't make him the number one quarterback. All right, well, there's a point there where I go, hey, it's a strong arm or he's really fast. But, holy crap, he can't play the freaking game. So what's the point of even having the strong arm or the great legs? But, like, always evaluate that. And I do think that, there's times where, hey, playing the game, decision-making, quickness of the release, maybe is something that I got to, hey, these guys are showing that their ability to get better as a passer is more of a thing now than maybe it was 15 years ago. And I think that's adjusted my thinking a little, Sam, to your point. The other problem, too, and I think you guys are probably in this, sometimes you can't meet these guys, right?
Yeah.
You can't meet these guys. You don't know what really makes them or what they are as a human being or as a person. And when it's like that at times and you're doing it all off film, then that's where you can get maybe swayed by traits a little bit more than maybe you should at times.
It's interesting. You have, I would say, more access to these guys than we do through, the stuff you do with NBC and stuff. How much does actually meeting these guys in person, talking to them face to face, how much does that go into your rankings?
Well, I know. Like, see, the quarterbacks this year, I didn't get to see any of them. And a lot of the years, I haven't been able to. There's been some years where I got to meet them and say hello. And then it does give you a feel, And I'm not trying to, like, pat myself on the back here, but that is one thing where, my upbringing, being around, Lawrence Taylors of the world and Harry Carsons, where I go, well, I know what an outside linebacker is supposed to look like. And I know what and so that's where the look test, it can be, somewhat there's some stock into that, is what I'm saying. You know, I can look at the guys and meet a few defensive ends, and I'm not going to name names or whatever, but you go and you get done with the combine and you met him and you interviewed him and you go, well, I don't know, people got this guy rated high, but man, his body would scare me, or his demeanor would scare me just right off the bat. So there is some things to get clues there. I wish I got to see it more. I wish I got to go to pro days more. That probably helped me more, but that's the way it is, and so be it. And I do my best with what I got.
So Sam and I were kind of talking about that when it comes to quarterbacks when we were at the Super Bowl, right? And we're all there, and it's the massive media room, and
Right.
Carson Palmer walked in one day, and Ryan Leaf is running around, and Chris Sims is running around, and it's like, wow, these guys are Boomer Esiason, right? When we first met Boomer, it's like, dude is way bigger in person than you even realize.
Right.
And it's like, I could understand how an NFL team might just sit down in an interview and be like, that's what it's supposed to look like, for better or for worse, right? Like that's going to sway you. Which brings me to Bryce Young this year.
Yeah, well, it's sort of harder for you, because you're 6'10", you're a giant amongst everybody.
But I know
Exactly.
how
You're bigger than
to look
everybody.
down amongst people.
Yeah, no, I know. You can put yourself in the eyes of the little people. But for people like me who are normal-sized human beings, right, 5'11", like 180 pounds, I am looking up again, to all these quarterbacks who are like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". They're all huge. And then Bryce Young is my size. And suddenly when you see it, next to guys like Carson Palmer and Ryan Leaf and, these prototypical quarterback-sized people, it really does make you go, like, somebody in the NFL is going to look at those two guys side by side and go, no way, it can't happen.
Right. No, I do. I think there's I think the league has changed a little bit because of, the quarterback position. Hey, the game can be a little more spread out. The quarterbacks are more protected. So, having that quarterback that's 6'4", 235 is not as important as it once was. But yeah, I still think there's teams, and listen, I'm one of these guys too, that I'd be scared to have a quarterback that size. I don't know if I could actually pull the trigger on it. I don't know if I could. I'm a little old school in those thoughts. I do put the value in some of the size things that quarterbacks do, throwing within the pocket and all that. I know there's, some curveballs or some ones that buck the trend every now and then, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think there are going to be a few teams in football that look at Bryce Young and go, man, I like the way he plays, but I just can't come to terms with ever really putting that guy at the top of my board with those size limitations there.
What do you think is the biggest issue with size? Is it I think the most overrated thing that we hear is batted passes. It's like that's not the issue, right?
It is. You're exactly right.
But
right.
When you see size, is it the durability aspect? Is it the vision aspect? What is it about size that you think is the biggest hindrance?
Yeah, I think it's the durability, of course. How can that not concern you, right? But then I think purely on the football field, the thing where I see it the most, and even like in a Bryce Young or a Russell Wilson, right? Kyler Murray, all right? I'm going to give you that when the pocket closes in and quarters are close, I see very few big-time awesome throws from those guys at times. Where then I go, then we could take Brady and Herbert and go, I could show you a bunch of throws in every game where they got people hanging on them, and if the pocket's the same way that I explained for the other guys, and they just and throw a 20-yard out route or a 15-yard in cut. So that's where, size is a skill. I think sometimes it does get, a little brushed over, with the ability to, throw over the line of scrimmage, see over the line of scrimmage, and then because of your size and your levers and the size of your hands and all that, you don't need as much effort to maybe throw the 20-yard out route as the guy who's 5'10", 185-pound needs to make that same throw.